Teachings on Children. Children's rights in terms of the Children's Act 38 of 2005. Children have the right to an education suitable to his or her aptitudes and abilities. Children have the right to a say in my care, and any changes to how they are cared for, according to age and maturity. Children have the right to get special care for special needs. Children have the right to be protected from being hurt. Children have the right to good health care and to be kept away from cigarettes, alcohol and drugs. Children are real people and have a right to be treated properly. Children have the right to privacy. Children have the right to speak and visit in private with their family or a person standing in for them like a social worker or an attorney. Children have a right to a legal representative in court matters and hearings. Children have a right to live in a pleasant place and not be put in prison or a police cell. Children have the right to raise in a loving and caring family, a proper, safe, and comfortable home, clothing, and healthy food. Definitions. The age of majority is 18, then they become a major person moving on into adulthood. Adoption is a legal way for an adult or adults, when unable to give birth to a child or want to bring another child into the family, to become the legal parents of a child. When you adopt a child, the child becomes your child as if the child was born through you. Adoption, inter-country, is a situation where the parents, who want to adopt, live in a different country than the child. An adoptive child means a child that can be adopted by parents who are not their biological parents because the child has either been abandoned, orphaned, abused, neglected, or because his or her parents cannot be found or are unable to care for the child. Adoptive parents are parents who are legally appointed to permanently look after and care after a child that is not their biological child. Biological father or mother means the parents who brought the child into the world. Technically, this means they biologically created the child. A guardian person or persons who have been legally appointed to protect and take care of a child or children. The High Court is where a judge sits to hear and decide the alimony matter of money paid to a parent or children for their parental support, usually by a divorced or separated spouse, or the father of a child whose parents are not married. A civil marriage is a registered marriage that took place in front of a magistrate or a minister of certain religions. A common law marriage is when parties live together without being legally married. What is a children's court? A children's court is a court that deals with issues affecting children. The Children's Court also takes care of children who need care and protection and makes decisions about children who are abandoned, neglected, or abused. Any person or child may approach the clerk of the Children's Court when he or she believes that a child may need care and protection. The Children's Court can place a child in safe care or
refer the child and/or the parent to social services.
To social services that may require mediation or treatment when dysfunctional. The Children's Court does not deal with criminal cases. The following people must report a case of possible child abuse: dentists, teachers, social workers, attorneys,
Ministers of religion, nurses,
nurses, traditional leaders. 7. A child may be adopted jointly by a husband and wife, partners in a permanent domestic life partnership, or other persons sharing a common household and forming a permanent family unit. What is adoption? Adoption is a process where an adult receives parenting rights and responsibilities from the biological parent/s of a child who is under 18 years of age. Adoption is intended to effect a permanent change in the status of a child and is needed in terms of a court order. Who may be adopted? Any child in terms of Section 230 may be adopted if a. The adoption is in the best interests of the child. b. The child is adoptable. c. The provisions of the Act are followed. A social worker must also make an assessment to determine if a child may be adoptable, who is an orphan, where there is no legal guardian or caregiver who is willing to adopt the child. A child or children whose parent/s or legal guardian/s cannot be established. A child who was abandoned. A child who was abused by their parent/s or legal guardian/s, or a child who needs a permanent home. The following adults can adopt. Section 231 regulates who may adopt a child. A child may be adopted jointly by a husband and wife or partners in a permanent domestic life partnership. Other persons sharing a common household and forming a permanent family unit. By a widow or widower, divorcee, or unmarried person. A married person whose spouse is the parent of the child, or by a person whose permanent domestic life partner is the parent of the child. By the foster parent of the child. When will a person be allowed to adopt? A prospective parent must be over 18 years of age, who can be entrusted with full parental rights and responsibilities, who wants to take care of a child's, exercise, and support these rights and responsibilities, and who must be assessed by a social worker. Who must give consent to the adoption? Each parent of the child, or legal guardian where necessary. Parent of the child has a mental illness. Parent of the child abuses or neglected the child or allowed this to happen. When the child is 10 years of age or older, and when the child is under the age of 10 years if they have the maturity and understanding to consent. Parent/s who abandoned the child/children. Consent must be reduced to writing, signed, and verified by the children's court. Can consent be withdrawn? Yes, for up to 60 days after the consent has been given. A children's court must not make an order for adoption final before the period of 60 days has expired. What is the adoption procedure? When a child becomes available for adoption, a notice must be served by the sheriff to each consenting party to request consent to the adoption. An interview is arranged between a prospective parent and a social worker. Following the interview, the social worker compiles a report holding information on whether the child can be adopted, if adoption is in the best interest of the child, medical information in relation to the child, and the eligibility of the prospective parent /s. An application for the adoption of a child is made, which must be made to a children's court and be accompanied by the report of the social worker and be accompanied by a letter by the provincial head of social development recommending the adoption of the child, and a consent form. The parent /s of a child may choose a specific person to adopt his /her child in the consent form, where the children's court will determine the prospective parent /s eligibility. The children's court must consider these factors before deciding on whether to allow the adoption. The community, religious and cultural background of the child, the child's parent /s, and the prospective parent /s. The information contained in the application. A person may not be disqualified from adopting a child due to their financial status. The children's court will allow or disallow the application for adoption, and a prospective parent may have to pay fees for the child to be adopted, for example, for professional fees such as medical expenses, legal fees for the application to the children's court. What are the consequences when an adoption order is made? When an adoption order is granted, the termination of the rights and responsibilities of the original parents or legal guardians. The child can take on the surname of the adoptive parents to the adopted child, unless the children's court states otherwise. The adopted parents must, together with the child's birth certificate, be given to a Home Affairs office to record the adoption and change in surname. What is guardianship? This means the administrative part of taking care of a child. Married parents have both natural and legal guardianship. What is a legal guardian? A legal guardian is chosen to be a guardian either in a will or by a court. What is a natural guardian? Sometimes the biological parents are called the natural guardians. Sole guardians. When a child only has one guardian, that person is referred to as the sole guardian. Their tasks are to administer and safeguard the child's property and property interests, aid or represent the child in administrative, contractual, and other legal matters, and, if it is required by law in any aspect of the child, for the child to marry if the child is not yet 18 years old, for the alienation or encumbrance of any of the child's immovable property. In their will, a sole guardian may appoint a fit and proper person to take over guardianship of the child in case of his or her death. Co-guardians. When a child has more than one guardian, those people are referred to as co-guardians. In cases such as these, all guardians must give their consent, administer and safeguard the child's property and property interests, help or represent the child in administrative, contractual, and other legal matters, and, if it is required by law in any aspect of the child, for the child to marry if the child is not yet 18 years old, for the alienation or encumbrance of any of the child's immovable property. In his or her will, a sole guardian may appoint a fit and proper person to take over guardianship of the child in case of his or her death. What does contact mean? This is about keeping in touch even though maybe the parent is not living in the same home. It is about talking and or seeing the child often enough to develop a relationship. What does care mean? Care means thinking about the child's daily needs such as supplying a safe home, food, education, and love. The child's development is part of care. A biological father must prove that he was living with the child's mother in a serious, long-term relationship at the time of the child's birth. Wants to claim paternity of the child. Chooses to pay customary law damages. Contributes to the child's upbringing, or contributes or tries to contribute to the maintenance of the child. When an unmarried father of a child wants to claim paternity, it means he wants everyone to know that he is the child's father even if he and the child's mother do not have a relationship. The High Court is the only court that can give someone permission to become a guardian. The divorce court and the children's court can permit a person to take care of a child or just for visiting a child. What is a parenting plan? The Children's Act offers parenting plans as a method to help parents with how to exercise their parental responsibilities and rights after separation or divorce. A parenting plan sets out how parents will exercise their respective responsibilities and rights. It must follow the best interests of the child principle as set out in the Act, and must be in terms of a prescribed form and include the following issues: where and with whom the child is to live, the maintenance of the child, contact between the child and any other person, and the schooling and religious upbringing of the child. A parenting plan is an essential document or contract directing how children will be raised after separation or divorce. As a co-parenting solution, it is a written agreement drafted by both parents with the help of a neutral third party, usually a social worker, psychologist, or family lawyer, acting as a mediator. Once the plan is completed, it is signed by both parents. Parenting plans need to be continually reviewed, as children's developmental needs change over time. We hope you find our legal teachings to be valuable. Please visit our social media channels, like and subscribe for more teaching topics. Remember, knowledge is your power and peace of mind. Refer friends and family to share this knowledge. Regards, lawclinics.com.